what's the biggest progress or developments you've seen so far through camp?
Oh, so I think we're 10 practices in. We've been really physical. It's been physical. We've done a ton of team reps. And today was our first full day going a lot of just move the ball live, tackle football. I think what we have a team that'll be physical. We have a team that plays hard. I like our team unity. I think there's the perfect balance of chippy competitiveness with the offense and defense at the same time. They're making each other better, and we're not crossing the line. So I think that's good. There's a lot of battles going on for depth and starting roles, and that's good. I think that after a week and a half, the things that stood out like today, we had a ton of penalties. We had a full ACC crew out here for us, which was great. Way too many penalties on offense, defense, and even I think 3 on our special teams. So we got to clean up the discipline aspect of it. We can be physical, we can be edgy, we can be aggressive, and then we got to kind of rein that in though, and keep it between the lines so we don't beat ourselves with turnovers and penalties. So I think that's some stuff just across the broad spectrum of 10 days that I like where we are in one aspect. Now we've got to tighten up the execution of the discipline as well.
What's maybe the biggest difference of something you see at a practice like today where you do go more team than maybe some of the other practices?
Yeah, well, we go a lot of team at all practices. Like today, I think our 1s and 2s both got about 30-plus scrimmage reps. Our 3s got about 20. On an average practice, we'll get 30 to 40 team reps. They're just not live. I think the thing you see today is you find out who can tackle, who can make people miss, who can, a lot of times it gets blown dead when the defender's close when it's not live, and then today, did he tackle him, did he not? Could the guy get the extra yards on his own, or is he getting tackled? Those things you learn. I mean, look, it's hard to tackle in space in college football. And so the more situations we can put our defense in, the better. And then also the more situations we can put our offensive playmakers in, the better. So you see that. That's probably the biggest difference on a day like today is, it's not, well, did he get it, did he not? It's like, well, we know. It's real football, and that helps.
What have you seen from Preston and Kevin so far, and where is their kind of competition, or where do they stand?
The first 2 days, I didn't think we were great in helmets, QB-wise, and there's a lot of things. It could have been just the first few days, excited, pressing. It's hard to protect and stuff and no pads. But honestly, I think since about day 3, they've both been great. I think they've both done a lot of good things. They both moved the team. They both scored points. They did that today. So I think both those guys are proven they are who we thought they were from a year ago, and it's 2 guys that were a big part of why we won a championship. I tell you who really has stood out, and he had a great spring, but Keldrick Lester can play. And he got a lot more reps with the 2s today, not the 3s, by design. And I just think he has a calm demeanor about him. So, look, my first 2 years here, we've had to play 3 quarterbacks both years. So it's nice to know that we got 3 guys, 3 high school guys from Texas, from Dallas area, that came to SMU and are doing really well. Makes you feel good about Coach King, Coach Hollander, and our development there.
Rhett, you spoke about the physicalness for these practices, but is there such a thing where you say, from a tackling standpoint, just that in this environment, we have to go all the way through, or can you have to play 90% or 50%, or how do you have to balance that as you guys get ready for Reno?
That's always the hardest balance is as a coach. How physical are you? How much live do you do to make sure you have a physical team? Like, you can't be physical if you don't practice physical. And hey, how are we going to tackle well? Usually the first few weeks of the season, tackling's not great anyways, but how do we get enough tackling in to where we feel like we're ready to play a game and yet keep people healthy? It's always a challenge. We got about another week from now to next Saturday. Coach Simons and I will get together. We'll probably find creative ways throughout the week to do enough of live tackling, whether it's through drills or some team periods. And then again next Saturday, as much as we feel like we need to try to get us ready. Because when you start getting 2 weeks out, you'd prefer not to go live any more than you have to. So everybody deals with that challenge, and it's just a fine line of trying to balance it.
Preseason polls being what they are, but what was your reaction to being picked 7th in the ACC poll?
I would have figured we should be 15th, 16th, or 17th, right? We're new in the league. On one hand, you appreciate that there's some respect for our program and our school and what we've been able to accomplish recently, and maybe the roster we have now. So that's great. At the same time, they didn't pick us to win anything. We didn't get a single first place vote, which we shouldn't. And like I said, I think we have a team that's going to compete. What that looks like, who knows? And we're excited to see where we stand, but we got to go earn anything we're going to get. And our guys are excited for that challenge.
You've always talked about competition, sorting things out in practice, and now you're 10 practices in. At this point, how many positions are still wide open competitions in your mind?
I think a lot, and I think sometimes it's the difference between starter or guy still playing a lot. Hey, you may know this guy's probably going to start at the end, but there's two guys behind that are playing really well. They're competing to see who gets 20, 30 plays a game, and then who's that third guy. Like there's different levels to that competition. So, and also like it's been a week and a half. There's some consistency shown there, but who can do it now week 2? Camp's not new anymore. You're still 3 weeks away, 2-3 weeks away from playing. So you're kind of like, who has the mental toughness to push through and improve consistency of performances there? That's what you're looking for. A lot of guys can flash. Who can be the most consistent? And so I think that's why we got a good another week at least to let those guys, no matter what we think we know which way it's going to go, like just sometimes you think, but you got to give it enough time to try to be as for sure as you can be.
Kind of in that vein, when you're rotating so many players right now, how do you kind of judge the consistency of ability versus the consistency with other players?
It's a challenge. It's hard on quarterbacks because different receivers all the time, different running backs, and whether it's guys being beat up or like we didn't have J.O. take any reps today. So like how do we do those in the line? You're looking for continuity, like same thing on the defensive side. So you got to take that into account as a coach. You hope after 10 days you can tighten it up a little bit. And then after next week, you're 2 weeks from playing, we got to start at least putting guys in the position we think they've earned to this point. And sometimes that changes a few weeks into the season. But, like, to be as polished as we can be going into week 1, there's got to be some continuity.
Are there any injuries you can update?
We've got both Kamar and Andrew Chamblee banged up their knees. I don't think we don't quite know yet on Kamar the full extent, how long he's out. Chamblee is not serious. He's out for a little bit, but he should make a return. I'm not exactly sure when yet. Other than that, we've been pretty fortunate. A lot of bumps and bruises, a lot of jammed thumbs and hands and ankles and hamstring. Like Isaiah Okobe's got a hamstring. We don't think it's long-term critical. And then the other guys, like hopefully, I think we're about a week away from Logan Parr potentially being cleared, which will be good. So for 10 days in as physical as we've been, for the most part, we're in a decent place.
Speaking of Isaiah, back in 23 again for you guys this year, just what went into that and kind of him earning it again?
Yeah, the cool thing is he wanted it, but that's not how it works. But it's good that he wanted it. So normally we vote towards the end of camp. And our guys, now things are different. NIL and all that. Guys need to know their jersey ahead of time, man. They got to get all their stuff. Their families got to get all the swag, and they got to. So we kind of made it more of a spring, summer off-season deal, and we let the players vote the last day of summer workouts. And we had probably 7 or 8 guys get a good number of votes, which is cool. And there was an obvious top 3, but by a decent amount, he was the top vote getter. So his teammates picked him, and that's why he's in it.
We've talked about how much talent you've added in the last couple of years, both recruiting high school and obviously in the transfer portal. Does the increased depth alter the way you might consider using starters on special teams?
Yes, it does. I think a couple things. The depth, the better the depth is on your football team, the better your special teams are going to be. That's what we all know. Especially, look, there's a lot of ways we can try to create an edge moving up to the ACC. Obviously it's depth on the O-line, D-line, but better special teams play across the board. Like, hey, if we can hang in there offensively and defensively and maybe get some plays here or there with our teams, then that could change the outcome of the game and consequently can go the other way. The other thing that I think is helpful this year, we got a lot of older guys. We got a lot of guys that are seniors. This is it. Or guys that are juniors or seniors that could come back that know this is it. And special teams, there's 4 or 5 scouts out here every day. Special teams is a big differentiator on where you get drafted, if you get drafted, or if you sign a deal. And so that motivation helps them buy in. And so far, in my first 3 years, the first 10 days, our buy-in on teams has been the best from guys that play a lot of snaps.
What are you hoping is different this season versus last season, if anything?
Well, I mean, we did lose 3 times, so maybe we can do better than that. This is a new team, so a lot of the good qualities last year's team had, we want to have, but they have to be created new. It's a new team. There's a lot of unknown. We're 10 of our 12 opponents are power opponents. And until we start beating those guys, people also keep asking me, hey, why'd you go 1-3 against them last year, all that stuff. So, I think, can we continue to run the football? We got better running the football last year. We won a championship. Can we continue to stop the run? We stopped it better last year, and we were able to get after the passer. But in the games we lost, we didn't run it and stop it as well, and we turned the ball over in those games. So, that was kind of the difference. And a lot of our games are going to be close games, like OU game, like the BC game. Like, can we make those critical plays in the second half? Can we be able to run and stop the run to close out games? Can we not turn it over to let that be the difference in the game? I think that's some areas we can improve.
A few of your coaches have said they've been pretty impressed with Brandon Booker. Any true freshmen standing out to you so far?
Yeah, I think on defense, I've noticed Brandon Booker. I think he's going to really help us on teams this year, and you hope he's a guy that middle of the year is picking up linebacker even better to where maybe he can be a factor there. And but we're excited about his future. I think Speedy Nettles is getting a lot of work at corner where we have some need for depth, and he can tackle too for a corner. So I think that's really good stuff on the offensive side. I think Graham Uter is going to be a really, really good center. And he's still young, and sometimes the snaps are off a little bit, but physically, mentally, he has everything you want to be a really good center. He reminds you of a Branson Hickman, but bigger. So that's exciting. I think King Large has stepped in. So your young linemen have kind of stepped in and impressed. Randy Reese showed up. He's now basically a freshman, and he flashes. Derek McFall, I like how he runs. He has a natural instinct for running. He has great patience for a young guy. So I think there's plenty of guys that have stood out, and as you can see, we're probably going to have bigger freshman classes in the future, so hopefully we have more of those.
Speaking to your point about the running game, what are you seeing from that room right now?
I think really good consistency. I think our backs are being patient. They're letting they're understanding whether it's gap scheme, inside zone, stretch, the things we're doing, just the repetitions helping. I think fundamentally we're clean. They've really worked hard and improved there. So I'd say just consistency. We've held on the ball. Knock on wood, I don't think we've had a ball on the ground with one of our top three backs. And I think even counting McFall in 10 days, I don't think we've had a fumble from those four guys. That's pretty good stuff. But I think just consistency.
With that crowded room, obviously you got three guys back who played a lot last year. Now you've added McFall. How do you and Coach Cooper and Coach Woods divvy up the carries? I mean, all these guys are competitive. They want to get the ball. A lot of them rely on developing a rhythm.
Yep.
Are there enough carries to go around with a crowded room?
It's hard with three to get enough carries if they're all true backs. I mean, typically you can do it with two in the course of a single game, and you need to, or you can do it with two and a specialty guy. Roles are still developing right now. We got good confidence in those three guys to all be the every down back. It's a good question. Production plays. So production will play, especially at running back.
Over the next 2-3 weeks of camp, what are the biggest things you guys have to accomplish in your mind?
Yeah, we focus really hard on toughness and physicality this week. We'll never stop focusing on that. I think that's where a lot of it starts. I think now that we're into it, I think we've really, like I said at the beginning, we got to clean up the discipline aspect. We've been really disciplined the last 2 years. This is a different team. And, there's a fine line there. You love the aggression, and you're going to have some aggressive penalties, but the false starts, the offsides, the illegal motions, the illegal form, like that stuff, that's the stuff you can't have. And those are the undisciplined pre- and post-snap penalties that beat you. We got to clean that up. And now you look at going into week 2, the install shouldn't be as much. You can maybe get more situational, so we got to be great in the situations. And then we just got to tighten up the execution on both sides. Like, it's not like it's the first or second day this defensive call or offensive call has been in. Now can we get the consistency of the execution to tighten up? I think that's what this second week will be really big for us. A couple quick things before I leave. So, it's kind of cool. They changed the rule that allows more people to coach, which I think is a great rule. It's great for developing younger coaches, and we have some really, really good young coaches here. In the past, people call them analysts, quality controls, what have you, but they couldn't coach at practice. Now that's not the case. So we're title changing a lot, 6 of our guys. Sam Hollander has been with me for a long time. Does an excellent job. He'll now be our assistant quarterbacks coach and head coach analyst, so he'll assist Coach King and myself a lot. Tyler Foster does a fantastic job. He's our assistant running backs coach, still has a title in recruiting. Ryan Jenkins, assistant wide receivers coach. I think you start looking at those guys, they do a fantastic job developing relationships with the guys on our roster and helping in recruiting. What time does that mean it is at the church? It's 10:35. That's a weird time for a bell. Hussam Ori, who has been an offensive line GA, has moved. He's our assistant linebackers coach now. John Bonney was with us my first year. Left, went to Coastal, came back. He's our assistant safeties coach. And then Casey Horney came back with us. He's now our assistant special teams coach and high school relations. Been in the state of Texas, coaching college his whole career. Was a DC at high school just last year outside of Austin. So I just think it's really cool that it's a little bit more of an NFL model. Those guys get the title they deserve, and they're able to come out here and coach, which helps us be better. It helps their career develop. So we're excited to have those 6 guys, plus our GAs. Those guys do a lot of jobs that go unnoticed. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. I mean, the bell told us it was